Welcome back in. We are on to week 10, a little later than I wanted to, but we're here. I actually was thinking about uh moving it to Friday night just because I'm behind on the video that I need to get put out for tomorrow, the top plays of the week. But because I do this every Wednesday, I didn't want to mess up people that come here to get their questions answered. But I do think I'm going to cut this one a little short tonight. Try not to go as long as I normally do. But I am going to try. I am going to go live on Friday night as well. I want to start playing around with maybe going live on Friday night so I can get more stuff done. But without further ado, let's get some of these questions here. Got offered to full PPR league JSN for my Bijan Robinson. 10 team, my running backs are Bijan, Kyron, Chase Brown, and Kenneth Walker. My wide receivers are Rome, Tet, Devonta Smith, Diggs, and Troy Franklin. Like, obviously, I mean, JSN has just been an absolute monster this year. Only thing that would concern me, though, is just it really kind of thins out your running backs that you have. I know at wide receiver, like I feel like you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. I know Bijan the last couple of weeks hasn't been as good, um, but I think when I look at this team, like I don't hate it because, like I said, I mean Jay has said it's just been an absolute monster this year. But like then you're going to be left with Kyron, Chase Brown, and Kenneth Walker. You know, obviously you would then have JSN, Rome, Tet, Devonta, Diggs, Troy Franklin. I probably still hold on to Bijan Robinson. Um, it's really close between the two of them. But with running backs, I just feel like those elite tier of running backs are just more thin than the rest of the than wide receivers are. I don't know. It is super close for me, but I would probably lean towards keeping Bijan Robinson than what you currently have. Because I mean, Kenneth Walker has not been great this year. Now there is some encouraging signs. He's somebody I talk about on the video that'll be coming out tomorrow morning. But there are some encouraging signs there with him. But then Chase Brown, he's played better recently, but it's still not like necessarily outside of I guess 2 weeks ago. But like last week, he was fine. I mean, obviously, it wasn't great either. And then Kyron is now losing carries um, to Blake Corum. And so like it just feels like that your running backs would take quite a bit of a hit here just for trading JSN. So but it is super close. Parker Washington or Tez Johnson, pick two. Montgomery, Marks, Kyle Monangai, or Swift. So I do have some of the rankings uploaded. Only one I don't have yet is the tight ends. Like I said, I've been trying to get all my stuff written and ready to go um, for this video that I put out every Wednesday or every Thursday morning. So I didn't get to the tight end rankings, at least a graphic done for them. But I do have wide receivers. And so it is close for me between Parker Washington and let's go to wide receiver threes, bring this down. It is close between Parker Washington and Tez Johnson for me. But I would slightly lean towards Parker Washington, and it's mainly because I don't think Brian Thomas Jr. plays in this game. Now, it is a bad matchup across the board. I mean, the Texas defense, I talked about them in the defense video. They are the number one defense in the league. Like, they have been phenomenal. But at the same time, full PPR, Parker Washington, even with Jakobi Meyers coming in, I mean, they've already pretty much said that Jakobi Meyers or Parker Washington is going to keep the same role. He has a really nice rapport. He's a safety blanket right now for Trevor Lawrence. And I do still think that Parker Washington probably sees, somewhere between like 8 to 10 targets, I think is definitely viable. Where I like Tez Johnson, but I would just slightly lean towards Parker Washington because I don't think Brian Thomas Jr. plays this week. And then as far as the running backs are concerned, give me David Montgomery and DeAndre Swift. Swift returned today to practice. That's a positive sign. Wednesdays usually isn't a big deal for me in terms of practice participation, but I do like to see, players that are coming off injury, if they are back on Wednesday, I think it's a pretty good sign that they should be good to go to play the following week. So I do like DeAndre Swift. I also really like Kyle Monangai as well. He's somebody I'm going to talk about in this video. I think both of them are very viable assets this week against the Giants. The Giants have been very, very bad against opposing running backs. But I do think DeAndre Swift still carries the workload here now that he's back. The Giants allow the second most rushing yards, the fifth most rushing touchdowns, the ninth most receptions to running backs, the 10th most receiving yards, third most receiving touchdowns, and the second most PPR points to running backs. So it is a very good matchup here for the Bears. We know the Bears want to be extremely run heavy. They have been. Even last week against the Bengals, they still ran the ball 26 times with Kyle Monangai. And so I think this team is still going to run a lot. Swift is not somebody that needs a ton of touches. He's never really been a true workhorse. I mean, right now he ranks like 24th in carries among all running backs. He handles about 14.3 per game, 3.4 targets per game, but he still managed to be a top 12 running back at fantasy points per game. So I do think DeAndre Swift is still very strong play this week. Purdy if he plays, or Darnold versus Arizona. I don't think Brock Purdy plays this week. Just with some of the comments from Kyle Shanahan weren't very encouraging. And it does sound like, it came out that basically Brock Purdy really wasn't anywhere close to playing last week. So if he really wasn't that close to play last week, I don't think he plays this week. We'll see. But I would still go with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has been phenomenal. Obviously, coming off that huge game where he just went absolutely nuclear in the first half against the Commanders. Arizona is a tougher matchup, but there's still a team. They're still going to be playing at home. Seattle is. And so I just lean Sam Darnold with how well they play. Friday nights would be great. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to plan to do. And I tend to go a lot later than I want to for this show because I'm trying to get as much done as I can for that video. Because then once I'm done, I usually then go and edit it and everything. And so usually I'm up till like 2:30 in the morning. And then I still have to go to like my real job. So the next morning. And so I'm thinking about switching it to Friday nights where I could easily go live much earlier. And then also, I think the benefit of just going live on Fridays is all the information or all of the information that I'll have in my hands. Like I'm going to know who's in, who's out. Last week I wasn't live and I didn't really, at the time, we didn't know that DeAndre Swift was going to be out. It really changed the entire slate. And so there's a lot of news that we don't get when I do this on Wednesday night. So I do think Friday is going to be much better. So I think that's what I'm going to do is just shift it up. But I'm still going to go live this week on Friday. But I wanted to jump on here and answer as many questions as I could. But I'm going to cut this short, so I'm not going to go as live as long as I normally do. What's up if James Cook can't go this week? Is it Ty Davis or Ty Johnson or Ray Davis? It would be Ray Davis for me. I know there's been some speculation. People talk about it on Twitter today that I think it would be Ty Johnson. If you just look at a lot of the usage numbers, it's been Ty Johnson. But that's been with James Cook playing. And Ty Johnson typically plays that change of pace, passing down role where Ray Davis hasn't been needed for that. I mean, we saw it last year. Ray Davis, when he got a start, had over 150 total yards, a couple scores, went absolutely off. Like, I feel like he is the backup to James Cook, where Ty Johnson's role is not going to change. So I think if he was out, it would be Ray Davis for me as the guy that I would want. I think Ray Davis would be the lead back here. Really good matchup against the Dolphins, even though recently the Dolphins have been better, against the run the last 2 weeks. But I still think in this offense, I would want Ray Davis as the starting running back if James Cook didn't go. I still tend to think that James Cook is going to play, though. I know he missed today, but again, it's kind of what I talked about. Like, Wednesdays aren't as big of a deal to me in terms of practice. Opinion on Monangai. I think he's a really strong flex play this week. I don't think that you can really go wrong with him as an option. I think 8 to 12 touches, I think, is in the range of possibilities for him. I have him. Oh, that's my RB3s. So yeah, I have him at the very top tier of my RB3 rankings for me. Like, he's really close to being a tier 1 or tier 2 running back or RB2 for me, but just couldn't get him that high. But still, Kyle Monangai, I think, is a really strong flex play this week, even with the situation that's going on. Should I trade Derrick Henry for AJ Brown and Dobbins? Yeah, I'm probably fine with that. Like, who else would you be left with at running back there, Alex? I know obviously you'd be getting Dobbins back, but who else would you be left with? Like, what does the rest of your roster look like? PPR, RJ Harvey or Zach Charbonnet. I'm gonna go with Harvey. It is volatile for sure. I mean, just looking at the production, I he's somebody else I talk about in the video that'll be coming out tomorrow. But RJ Harvey, you know, he's he's put up top 10 weeks in each of the last two, but that's been against the Cowboys and Texans. In week 8, though, uh he had 8 total touches for 51 yards and obviously had 3 scores. And then last week he had 2 carries, but he had 5 receptions for 56 yards and another score is where he's kind of got there, but he's still only playing about 28% of the snaps. And so there's definitely some volatility here because you take the touchdowns out, like there's not a lot of upside there when you're only playing 28% of the snaps. However, the matchup is great against the Raiders, and the Broncos are 9.5-point favorites. And so I do think that we've seen in like especially scripts where the Broncos have been able to control everything, which they should in this game at home on Thursday night. Then RJ Harvey should still probably see 8 to 10 touches, and he's super explosive. And they have no problem obviously getting him involved in the passing game. And so I think RJ Harvey is still a pretty strong, flex option this week, even despite the fact that he's necessarily really running hot on touchdown upside because he scored 4 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. And then Kittle or Kincaid. It's going to be Kittle for me against the Rams. I do like Kincaid. Kincaid's been really solid, but I still would go Kittle. And then Hurts or Drake May. I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts against the Packers. I'm a little concerned with Drake May this week against the Bucs. The Bucs defense is very good, and they are obviously coming off their bye, and they are also getting healthier with missing some pieces that they're going to have back here for this game. I'm a little concerned that I'm not going to say I think Drake May is going to have a bad week, but I don't think it's going to be as good as what he's been recently. I think there's some downside a little bit to Drake May this week. Still like him. He's still a top 10 quarterback play for me because of his rushing upside. But I think there's a little bit more range of outcomes to him this week, where as I've absolutely loved him recently. I had him as a top 5 quarterback most weeks. Pick 2, Marvin Harrison Jr., Wan'Dale, or Keenan Allen. Sit Wan'Dale for me when it comes to these two, or when it comes to these 3. Wan'Dale is just being peppered with very short targets. Like he has like an average depth of target of like 4. Like it's like 4.5, 5 yards is the average depth of target, which is terrible. For Wan'Dale Robinson. Like last week he had 11 targets, but he did nothing with them, and they're no yardage. I mean, he had like 40 total yards off 11 targets. Like Darius Slayton is the guy I want to play. And he's somebody that I'm really excited about playing this week. Like Darius Slayton is one of my favorite flex play wide receivers of the week this week. And without giving too much away from the video that I keep talking about, but I will say this. So the Bears allow the most receptions of 20-plus yards and are allowing 7.4 yards per attempt, which ranks second most. And this is perfect for Darius Slayton, where Darius Slayton has an average depth of target of 13.7, which is top 15 among all wide receivers. He is definitely the deep threat here. He's going to be the guy that's going to be seeing a lot of those targets, and that's where the Bears struggle mightily. Bears also have quite a few injuries up front on their defensive line from last week. So I actually think Darius Slayton is a pretty strong like wide receiver 3 for me this week. And so I know he's not somebody we're talking about, but I'm just a little bit lower on Wan'Dale. So I like Keenan Allen and Marvin Harrison Jr. Pitts or Juwan. So give me Kyle Pitts. The Colts actually. This was actually I was actually writing up Kyle Pitts right before I went live. But Kyle Pitts is a really strong play for me. Like he's basically been the number 2 wide receiver for the Falcons this year. Hasn't really got the recognition for it. I think a lot of people still think Kyle Pitts is bad, but Kyle Pitts has actually played pretty damn well. And Kyle Pitts and the Colts, allow the 4th most PPR points to tight ends this year. And so it's actually a really strong play for Kyle Pitts this week. So give me Kyle Pitts. And thoughts on Musgrave or Likely rest of season? Likely is going to be really frustrating. He's going to have some spike weeks for sure, but he's also going to have a lot of down weeks. Like I don't think the role changes all that much from what it was last year. I think Luke Musgrave is interesting. I don't think he's going to be Tucker Kraft. He's not Tucker Kraft, even though he was drafted higher than Tucker Kraft was in the same draft that Tucker Kraft was. But Luke Musgrave is still, I think, a pretty solid tight end. Like he's missed a lot of time with injury. That's been his kind of his problem that he hasn't been able to stay healthy. But Luke Musgrave is still a pretty solid tight end. I think at least like for this week, he's probably like a borderline top 15-ish tight end for me this week. But I would still go Kyle Pitts. I have Kyle Pitts, the top 8 tight end. I need a flex in a standard league. Quentin Johnston, Travion Henderson, Shaheed, or Woody Marks. Give me Quentin Johnston here in this matchup against the Steelers. So looking at that, the Steelers have been really bad this year against the pass. They've been really bad for the most part against outside wide receivers, which is where Johnston comes in. They've actually been pretty decent against slot wide receivers. So when I was kind of looking into this to try to check everything out for where I was going to have people, because like I'm a pretty decent fan of Josh Downs, but Pittsburgh has actually been pretty good against the slot. It has been the outside wide receivers that have really killed them. Like they have allowed 34.7 uh, fantasy points to outside wide receiver, which is by far the most. For context, they allow 34.7 PPR points per game to outside wide receivers. The Titans are second, allowing 26.9 PPR points to outside wide receivers. So they've been absolutely slayed by outside wide receivers. And obviously, Ladd McConkey runs a lot of his routes from the slot. So does Keenan Allen. But I think that actually helps Quentin Johnston and Oronde Gadsden the most here. And also Quentin Johnston's ability, especially being a standard league, of scoring touchdowns. Like he's definitely the big red zone threat for them. Do you think JSN will lose fantasy points? No. For Shaheed Ravel, no. Johnson. JSN has just been on another planet this year. Just with how good he's been. Like for the most part this year, I've pretty much had like Puka and all the weeks that Puka's played as the number one wide receiver every week, just because how good he's been. But I think it's time, and I've done it this week. Like JSN, he's the number one receiver in fantasy football. And to me, like if he's just been the man every week, and he literally has 4 straight games of over 100 receiving yards, and he's has 6 of the 8 games he's played this year of 100 receiving yards in every single game. Like he has just been phenomenal. Like it doesn't like some wide receivers are a lot of their upside comes from touchdowns. That really hasn't been the case. Not that it's been necessarily a problem for him, but like I mean, he leads the league in almost just about everything. His target share is 38%, number one. First read target share is top 3. Like they're not going to go away from him. If anything, I think that who this hurts more than anything is Cooper Kupp. I think it's who this is going to hurt when it comes to Rashid Shaheed. But Shaheed is much more of a deep threat, clear out wide receiver. I think guys like Torrey Horton and Cooper Kupp are going to be the ones that feel it. It's not going to be JSN. Brunel, what's going on? I need trade advice. Should I trade Nico and Laporta for Bucky and DK? I still have Emeka, Rome, Tet, and Gatsa. Does Bucky? Yeah, Bucky really worries me that he's still not practicing, coming off their bye. Like I kind of expected that he was going to be practicing this week, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Now, Todd Bowles did say that they're trending in the right direction, and whatever that means, him and Chris Godwin. But it really does worry me that Bucky Irving still has not come back yet and is still not ready to go. So that is definite concern there for me when it comes to Bucky Irving. So you'd still have, like, I don't really want DK Metcalf. Like DK Metcalf has been pretty, like he is like a boomer bust wide receiver 3 for the most part. Like you would think that he would just be getting hammered with targets considering the weapons they have there, but it just hasn't been the case whatsoever. I mean, last week against Indy, like that was a phenomenal matchup. The Colts had been just bleeding fantasy points to opposing wide receivers, and he scored 2.6. And he doesn't have a single game this year where he's seen double digit targets. And so he's kind of another wide receiver that needs to score a touchdown, and touchdowns have really kind of carried him. Because, I mean, he has games where he scored touchdowns. He still only scored 11 PPR points, 12 PPR points. So, like, there's just not a ton of, like, ceiling with him. Like, he's kind of fine, but, like, I don't know. I don't love DK. Like, I don't I guess if you're needing a running back, like, I don't mind taking a swing on Bucky Irving that hopefully he's gonna be back. I mean, obviously, this is not like a lower body injury for Bucky Irving that he's going through. I mean, he was in a sling for a while, so that's a positive for him when he does come back, and it does sound like he should be back within the next week or 2, but you're taking on risk for sure. Um, I guess it depends on, like, what the rest of your roster looks like and if your team is like, what your record is, because if you're, like, 6-3, 7-2 right now, and you're looking really good, I make that move and take the upside and the ceiling that Bucky Irving provides. Especially because Nico's been so inconsistent this year. Love Nico Collins, but like he just hasn't been very good. It's mainly because the quarterback play has been atrocious for the most part. And so I think I probably would take that swing if I can handle it. Okay, so that was the should I trade Derrick Henry for AJ Brown and Dobbins? You'd be left with CMC and ETN. See, I don't know. I don't think I would make I mean, obviously, CMC's been a monster, but you become really thin at running back at that point. And I mean, AJ Brown, I think better days are coming for AJ Brown for sure. Like, even coming off their bye, I think, this bye probably came at a really good time. They obviously didn't trade him, but they have started to throw the ball a little bit more and kind of change up the way they've done things recently. Um, so I do like AJ Brown, like the prospects of buying him. But Dobbins, like, I think Dobbins is like fine, like, but he's like a meh wide or RB2 most weeks. Where I think better, like really good days are coming for Derrick Henry. Like if you look at the Ravens' schedule, like to close out the year, it is phenomenal. That's why the Ravens are favored to win the division, even though they have what 2 wins on the year, 3 wins on the year, whatever their record is because of their schedule is so phenomenal. And we know when winter gets here, Derrick Henry is going to go nuclear. So the more I think about it, I think I hold Derrick Henry because you're going to be left with CMC and ETN, and there's a lot of volatility there past CMC and Trey Benson. But I mean, well, Trey Benson, we just don't know. Like, I mean, it sounds like he's getting close to returning too. Is kind of what they said today, but it really wasn't much of an update when it came to Trey Benson. You just don't. Also, with Trey Benson, we don't know what Trey Benson's real role is going to be when he comes back. Like, we only saw him for the one game. And Amari DiMercado played pretty well last week too. So, I mean, is that going to be a full committee when he comes back? So, I think I just hold. I think I hold Derrick Henry. So just flip Monangai for Waddle. Love that. Love that. I mean, Monangai obviously was phenomenal, but as long as DeAndre Swift stays healthy, it's going to be in a backup role. Jalen Waddle has been awesome since the Tyreek Hill stuff. Since Tyreek Hill got hurt and went down, he is like a top 15-ish wide receiver, getting a lot of targets. So I like that a lot. I think that was a very, very smart move of selling high on Kyle Monangai. Like that's how you do it. With CJ Stroud out, Jags or Carolina or New Orleans defense. I probably lean Carolina. I don't care whatsoever for the Saints offense whatsoever. And the Panthers with Derek Brown has been solid. They're a solid defense, like a solid fantasy defense. I think they're like DST 18 or something like that. So they're about as middle of the road as you get. And this is a pretty good matchup against the Saints. And so I lean towards Carolina. I think the Jags are in play for sure. I personally, in my home league, have the Jags defense this week. Um, but I still lean Carolina. If Ramondre doesn't play this week, should I play Travion or RJ Harvey in my flex over Lad? I also have Gatson that I'm playing as tight end. Gatson is going to do really bad things this week, too. To the Steelers. The Steelers have been awful against tight end. Now, they're not Bengals awful, The Bengals are incredibly bad against the tight end. Like they've allowed 12 tight ends or 12 tight ends, 12 touchdowns to tight end so far this year. And that's like not even close. So then, I mean, the next closest I think is 6. Yeah, the next closest is 6, which is the Steelers. They've allowed 6 touchdowns to opposing tight ends. So, but nobody's as bad as the Steelers. So, here's some things like with Lad, right? In this situation where you have one, the Bucks are really good against the run with Vita Vea. Like I don't love playing a running back against the Bucks. I never want to play a running back against the Bucks. Their run defense is always really good. I know they've struggled a little bit at times this year against the run, but a lot of that's due to injuries that they've had. And like I've said, a lot of their players are coming back for this game. And so I think TreVeyon Henderson's still a pretty solid flex play. But and then RJ Harvey is another player that, like I said, I think there's a lot of upside there. We've seen it the last 2 weeks, but there's volatility here. Where it comes to Lad, like, yes, the matchup isn't as good. And yes, I prefer Quentin Johnson all day. But you still have to remember, Lad McConkey still only runs 60% of his routes from the slot, which is still a decent amount. But there's still those other 40% where he's still running on the outside. And so he's not always running from the slot. And so I still think that Lad McConkey's still probably going to see like 7 or 8 targets in that game against the Steelers. Like I love Justin Herbert this week. Justin Herbert's like my number 3 quarterback this week. And so I still would probably play Lad, even though you're playing Gatson. Like I get it. Like if you had a better option that I felt more comfortable with, because I mean we saw it last week at TreVeyon Henderson. I mean Terrell Jennings is still out here, getting touches, and so no, I don't think Ramondre doesn't play. I mean the reports today where they don't know when Ramondre is going to be back, and so I do not expect him to play. But I mean Terrell Jennings played only 23% of the snaps, but he still had 11 carries and saw a target, and so like it's still a committee here with TreVeyon Henderson. So I still would probably lean a little bit more Lad. Lad's going over this week. Jalen Ramsey will be on him, and he can't guard slot. I mean, like I said, I'm just going off of what I've seen here, and so like I said, like I don't think Lad is like a terrible play. Like, I don't want to make that. Like, I still think he's a top 36 wide receiver this week. I'm just a little bit lower on him, and I think Quentin Johnson is probably the play as well as Gadsden. Devonta, Diggs, Rome, Tet, Troy Franklin. Which shoe to start full PPR? Man, I really want to play Troy Franklin. I love Troy Franklin this week. And I love Troy Franklin because much like I just talked about, the Raiders have been horrific against slot wide receivers. They are allowing the 3rd most PPR points to the slot this year, and Franklin runs the 7th highest routes from the slot this year. So, like schematically, and even on the outside, I mean, overall, the Raiders still allow the 5th most PPR points to wide receivers, but they really struggle against the slot. And we have seen that Troy Franklin, he's 16th among all wide receivers in targets. He still has a 21% target share. This is a really strong bounce back spot for him this week. And so I really like Troy Franklin. That being said, I'm still going to play Rome Odunze, who I think bounces back this week, even after his dad went off on Twitter about Rome Odunze's usage last week, only seeing 3 targets. I will say DJ Turner has been he doesn't really get talked about because the Bengals defense has been so bad. But DJ Turner has been really, really good this year against outside wide receivers. Like he has shut down some elite level wide receivers this year. Like the problem's been everywhere else with that defense. And so that should be taken into consideration with how bad Rome was last week. But so for me, I would go Rome and probably Devonta Smith. I think would be the 2 that I would go with here. But it is close. It Diggs the other option for me. I do like Troy Franklin, but Troy Franklin is still like a high-end wide receiver 3 for me. No problem, Crab Gravy. Anytime. Steelers or Ravens, D? It's probably going to be Ravens. The Ravens defense has like started to turn things around for sure. They are much better than what they were earlier in the season. Now, obviously, some of the matchups they've had recently have been great. But JJ McCarthy, while JJ McCarthy has played well, there's still a lot of volatility there with McCarthy. McCarthy hasn't thrown over 200 yards in a game. I don't think he's went over 150 yards in a game. And he's thrown 4 interceptions, I think, already so far this year as well. And so, I mean, he threw, I know at least one last week. But so there's definitely some volatility there. And so I would go Ravens. I'm not playing the Steelers defense against the Chargers. And you know that because you're a Ravens fan with your logo or your anyways, Mariota Penix, Jacoby Fields, 4-point passing touchdown. I'm gonna go Michael Penix here. I always get nervous with playing these overseas games that we're gonna get this Colts and Falcons game over in Germany this week. But that being said, it is still a better matchup. I know Sauce Gardner has a chance to play this week, which would be kind of wild considering he's coming in on a very short week and he's coming off a concussion. But Penix has been up and down this year. Again, somebody else I talked about in the video that'll be coming out tomorrow. But I think Penix is probably one of the better, more widely available like streaming option quarterbacks this week. He currently has 3 games producing top 12 numbers, but has 4 games of being QB 19 or worse. His biggest issue has really been lack of touchdowns because the yardage have definitely been there, but his 3.4% touchdown rate ranks 25th among quarterbacks. But so why would you want to play Penix? It's going to be for one. The game is a very healthy 48.5-point total, which is the 5th highest game on this slate this weekend. Secondly, the matchup is solid. The Colts have allowed the 5th most passing yards, the 8th most touchdowns, and the 13th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. So I do think that Penix is a solid, like top 15-ish quarterback play for me this week. And so that's who I would go with over Mariota, Jacoby, or Fields. No problem. That's what we are here to do. Full PPR: Lamar, CMC, Junkins, Nico, Sutton, Warren, tight end flex. T Mac bench is Keenan, Franklin, Kittle, Brees, Monangai making changes. I mean, you're solid, obviously, at quarterback. You're great there. You're solid at tight end. Love that. Wide receiver looks to be like the little bit more of the bigger issue because, like, I don't love Sutton as your number 2 wide receiver at all. Like, Sutton's been like very hit or miss. So maybe it's an opportunity to try to buy like an AJ Brown or something like that. Try to buy low on a wide receiver. Like, I think you could take maybe someone like George Kittle, like somebody who's like desperate for a tight end. Like, go to whoever had Tucker Kraft, for example, and see if you could try to flip them George Kittle or a wide receiver, depending on who they have. I don't know, obviously who that team has, but like a solid, strong wide receiver. Maybe even like had no problem with throwing in like a Kyle Monangai or a Troy Franklin or something like that to sweeten the deal, depending on who they have. Like I said, it's hard to know without seeing their team. But like that's what I'd be trying to improve. For my wife's dynasty, first of all, I love that your wife plays dynasty or plays fantasy football in general. To be honest, she's playing Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown, and wide receivers. Who at the flex? Odunze or Sutton? Yeah, I'm gonna go with Odunze. I know we look at the matchup against the Raiders. I think it's a phenomenal matchup against the Raiders, and it is. It is a really good matchup. But Sutton is just so damn hit or miss on And I know last week was a really tough matchup. It's why I was lower on him. I mean, he came through with that one 30-yard touchdown that he was able to come through with. But other than that, that's all he did. But he's just, and he really doesn't have like a huge ceiling. Like he has the one game against the Chargers where he put up 23.8. But other than that, like it's been because they spread the ball around so much there. I mean, him, Troy Franklin to the running backs. I mean, then you got guys like Pat Bryant and Marvin Mims that get targets. So like it's just he's not seeing like he has a 20% target share, which ranks 37th among wide receivers. He's barely a he's a low end wide receiver 2 right now. So I would much rather try to see if I could find somebody else I think that offers a little bit more ceiling. Steelers the only interested me because Chargers are lineups. Yeah, it's true. It definitely is. I mean, they did go out and add Trevor Penning, whatever you feel about that, yesterday through the trade deadline to try to help that offensive line. But the offensive line's been pretty banged up and bad for most of the year. And I mean, Justin Herbert has 3 straight games of scoring about 30 fantasy points per game. That's what worries me. Cleveland, Carolina, or Jags? Cleveland. Cleveland's top 5 defense for me this week. Myles Garrett is going to do some bad things to that Jets team. Trade Jincy and Olave for Rome and Junkins. I'm 5-4, likely to make playoffs. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. And I think it's because with Rome's definitely going to have like some huge spike weeks. Like that, those are coming. Like he's going to still have really good weeks. But what worries me with him is that the Bears have become so run heavy. They want to run the ball at such a high rate that it limits the ceiling for everybody else. And then Junkins is also very game script dependent. Like this week is a great matchup for him. Top 12 running back for me this week. Yeah, I'm at running back 10 this week. But it's also because they're 2.5-point favorites. So like, but in weeks that then of the other games where they're not and they're heavily, underdogs, like it's going to hurt Quinshon Judkins. We've seen it in games this year. He's not involved in the passing game. And so when he's not, like he's gonna be extremely volatile. And so I actually think, like, as crazy as it seems, I think I would rather have Jincy and Olave or try to find a better package. And so the reason I've been wanting to do this is because the Saints quarterback room is a problem. Like, yeah, it's true. But like the one example I would give you is like look at Garrett Wilson. The quarterback play for him has been horrific, right? Like it's been terrible. And for the most part, like the passing game has been bad. But Garrett Wilson is still a top 8 fantasy wide receiver in fantasy points per game because he's seeing, and he's somebody I'm be talking about in this video this week. But just looking at his numbers this year are bonkers. And this is a team that doesn't throw the ball at a high rate either, which is very similar to the Saints. But so Garrett Wilson, he has a 34.8% target share, which is the second highest rate for any wide receiver. And he has just a whopping 48.3% first read target share. So that means he is Justin Fields' first target or first read on 48% of his dropbacks. And so now that Rashid Shaheed's gone from the Saints, like that's what you're going to get for Chris Olave. Like Chris Olave has already been hammered with targets, but it's about to go through the roof without Rashid Shaheed there. So, like, I think volume can help carry him. And really, it's just been touchdowns that have hurt him because he only has 3 this year. I mean, obviously, his best game of the year so far is when he scored 2 touchdowns. But I'm just saying, I think you could get a better package in return for him. Is what I'm saying. 2 quarterback superflex league, 14 team, 2 quarterback max. Should I stay with T Law or pick up If you got McCarthy rest of season, I have to drop one or the other. I would go with. I'd probably go McCarthy, and it's just because of his rushing upside. I mean, he has two of the 3 games here. He scored 20 fantasy points. Let's see how many times Trevor Lawrence has done that this year. So McCarthy's played in 3 games. He's done it twice. Lawrence has played now, what, 8 games? Yeah, and he's done it twice. 3 times. Sorry. 21.2, 27.2, and 22.2. I'd probably go JJ McCarthy. Yeah, I think I go JJ McCarthy. What is the let's see. Let's check something else. One more thing. Something that we're gonna start looking at a little bit more is the fantasy playoff schedules. Because we're getting closer to that, so we can start really paying attention to that. So, excuse me. Minnesota. Okay, so here's something to look at. Minnesota has the 3rd easiest schedule in the fantasy playoffs, and weeks 15 through 17, where Jacksonville has the 24th in the fantasy playoffs. And then, yeah, because basically playoffs, they play the Lions, the Giants, and the Cowboys. Like, you couldn't ask for a better run for a team. And also, just their rest of season schedule. The Ravens, which, the Ravens defense has been better, but it still is beatable through the air. The Bears, phenomenal matchup. Packers, not great. The Seahawks, not great. But then after that, Commanders, phenomenal. Commanders defense is so bad. And they just lost Marshall Lattimore for the year with a torn ACL. But the Commanders, Cowboys, Giants, and Lions is how the Vikings close out their season. So, I would go JJ McCarthy. And just for good time's sake, let's see what the Jaguars is. So the Jaguars get the Colts, who now have Sauce Gardner. Then they get the Broncos with Pat Surtain. And those are their 2 matchups in the fantasy playoffs, or that and the championship. But actually, they also get the Colts again in week 13. They get the Jets, which obviously that's not a bad matchup now. They also get matchups upcoming against the Texans, which is not good. The Chargers, which is not good. And then you get the Cardinals, which is middle of the road. Titans, great matchup. And then the Colts, not great matchup. I think now Sauce Gardner, Jets, Broncos, Colts. So yeah, sorry. I want to go through all that. It is definitely JJ McCarthy. How do you feel about Aaron Jones' buy low? I think he's a great buy low. I mean, he looked really good last week. He did have the shoulder injury. Sounds like he's going to play. But as long as he plays, like, he's a top 24 running back for me this week, and he looks like the better play. Nathan, would you start Troy Franklin or Brees? I would probably lean Troy Franklin. A little more volatility there. Brees is obviously going to see more opportunities, but the Browns have been really good against the run this year. It's been the past that they've struggled a little bit more against. And so I don't love this spot for Brees Hall. And so I would go Troy Franklin. EC, PPR, Mooney or Horton? I'm not playing Horton with Rashid Shaheed there. Rashid Shaheed is going to be able to step right in. He knows this offense with his time with Clint Kubiak last year with the Saints. So, like, he's very familiar with this offense. So he's going to be able to step in. And so I do not love Torrey Horton. So I guess I go Darnell Mooney with not having much other options. Who's available on the waivers is what I would want to know. Crab game, if you could choose to have Sutton or Franklin, who would it be? My wife has Sutton. Franklin is also available to pick up. I think over the long haul of the rest of the season, if we're talking like that, it probably would still be Sutton. Just because he's shown more consistency throughout the year. I mean, it hasn't been a high ceiling, but he's still showing more consistency. Where Franklin is still seeing a lot of targets, but he's been a little more boom or bust. And when it comes to this week, I still think I would go with Troy Franklin over Cortland Sutton, but it is close between the two of them. I have them very close in my rankings. They're both very close to each other. And Cortland Sutton probably still is the safer play this week. I just think I think Troy Franklin has a little bit higher of a ceiling. Should I start Franklin or Washington because BTJ might not play, but Franklin also? I would go Franklin. But I don't think Brian Thomas Jr. plays. But it's a really bad matchup against the Texans. Their defense is good across the board. So I would still go with Troy Franklin. Aaron Jones, Ramondre, or Travion rest of season. Rest of season, I'd probably go Aaron Jones. I just don't know if Travion Henderson's role is ever really going to change. I mean, we have to remember too that Mike Vrabel, when he was with the Titans, was limiting touches of Derrick Henry with Dion Lewis. Like that was a thing. That Dion Lewis was getting carries over Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry was playing like a limited role his rookie year. If he was going to do that with Derrick Henry, like I don't see it changing with Travion Henderson all that dramatically. And so I think now Aaron Jones is a little bit more volatility because of the injury stuff that he keeps coming up with, and he's 30 years old. But I still probably would rather have Aaron Jones. Old boy PPR pick 2, T-Mac, J-Mo, Keenan Allen, Downs, or Loveland things. Keenan Allen and Ted McMillan for me. Hampton, Swift, Harvey, Benson, rest season PPR. I would love to say Hampton, but I don't know when he's going to come back. I mean, the reports came out that he's looking like he's going to miss more time than what was originally expected, and now he could be out to like week 13, week 14. So I mean, you can't put Hampton high, so it has to be Swift 1, probably Trey Benson 2, Harvey 3. Then I don't know. Because expecting rational coaching, because I feel like RJ Harvey should be seeing more. It should be way more than 28% of the snaps that he's playing right now that he's seeing over J.K. Dobbins. But I mean, J.K. Dobbins has been fine. So, but right now, with everything we know, I would go Swift, Benson, Hampton, Harvey. I think, and pray that Hampton comes back before week 14. Marcus, 6-3, 12 PPR, May and Love, H.A. Bucky, Henry, Woody, JSN, Amon-Ra, Garrett. Love those wide receivers. Shaheed, Kittle, Fannin, trade ideas for playoffs. Well, I mean, I think at least for the fantasy playoffs, I mean, I think you're still set up pretty well. The Dolphins have the fifth easiest schedule for running backs. So that's obviously really good for your Devon Achane. Tampa Bay has the sixth easiest schedule for running backs. I think you're really good there. Both of those guys, Bucky should be back by then. Derrick Henry, I've already talked about. I mean, my goodness, their rest season schedule is phenomenal. So I think your running backs are really good. Quarterback Drake May has been awesome. I don't necessarily love the matchup this week, but for the rest of the year, he's going to be a top 5, top 6 quarterback. Amon-Ra, JSN, I mean, just phenomenal. Garrett Wilson, like I said, is already a top 8 wide receiver in fantasy points per game. Like, I think you're really set up really well. Like, I don't think there's a lot you need to change here, honestly. Like, because you have depth at running back. You're pretty solid at wide receiver. I don't know what the bench looks like, but I mean, tight end, you're really set really well. There's 2 top 12-ish tight ends. I mean, Kittle's top 4. I think Fannin on certain weeks will still be a top 10 to 12 tight end. So, I mean, I think this is a really good team. I don't know if there's a lot I'd really want to change, honestly. Maybe I think the only thing I can tell you to do is this is a great time. I kind of said it, but this is a great time to start stashing players and start dropping your extra players. Because like for example, like when are you ever going to start Jordan Love over Drake May? The way Drake May's played this year. I know an injury can happen, but I'm assuming that it's a 12-team league. The quarterbacks are going to start getting dropped, and I think they should be start getting dropped. And so, like, I think you start adding like this is a great time to start adding handcuff backs, like guys that like if injury happens, like these guys are going to step in to monster roles. And so, like, I mean, there's certain running backs like a Blake Corum or a Tyler Algier that are sitting out there that in a lot of leagues that I would rather have and start stashing because we're through a lot of the bye weeks. We still have a few left. There's still a few teams that have buys left, but for the most part, we've went through the bulk of buys. And so, like, this is a great time to start stashing those handcuff running backs that are widely available in a lot of leagues. That's what I would start to do to start planning for the playoffs. Start Debo, Shakir, Watson, or Jameson Williams. If I can only pick one, give me Debo. DST this week, Colts or Jags? Give me the Jags. Do you give trade advice? Yes. Yes, I do. Over on Twitch. Only other viable option on waivers to go along with Mooney and important is Pop Douglas. Just need a week 10 stream. Let me see something. So Pop Douglas runs 71% of his. So he's pretty much the full time slot, which is what I figured, but I just wanted to see. You also have Kayshawn Booty, who may not play this week. But he's only running 44% of the routes, and maybe that goes up. They're missing Booty. Let me see. Tampa Bay does allow like 13th in fantasy points per game allowed to slot wide receivers. Like, I don't know. That feels like pretty thin to go with Pop Douglas. But I mean, Mooney hasn't been any better. Let's face it. I keep waiting for Darnell Mooney to break out, and it hasn't happened. And I'm starting to get to the point where I don't think it's going to happen, especially after the year that he had last year. I mean, last week he only saw 2 targets. I think I take a swing on Pop Douglas. I know there's a lot of volatility there, but especially if Booty's out, like I think then it becomes a little bit more condensed and where maybe Pop Douglas gets a little bit more involved. And the Bucks have been susceptible to slot wide receivers this year. So yeah, I think I'd go Pop Douglas with all the options you have here. Evening. What two tight ends do I play? Kittle, Laporta, Gatson. Also, so I'm gonna go Kittle and Gatson. Also need to flex whatever tight end you didn't pick: Dobbins, BTJ, Debo, or McConkey. Give me Dobbins and Debo. Or let me see. I think I have lag. Yeah, give me. Yeah, give me Ladd. I'm still gonna go Ladd. So yeah, give me Ladd and sorry, I had to look at Ladd and Dobbins is who I would go with. I know you're already playing Gatson, but I still love the matchup. So give me Ladd. Oh, Rashad White on web. Yeah, pick up Rashad White. Give me. I'll go Rashad White over because I mean it doesn't look like Bucky's gonna play, and so but I still think I would go. Yeah, I would still go Dobbins over Rashad White. What I thought. I thought I had him over. Surprised Rashad White was dropped. I know he was on bye, but because it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't sound like Bucky's gonna play this week. But I still go Dobbins and I still go McConkey. So yeah, give me Kittle, Gatson, and then go Dobbins and McConkey. Howdy, Darnold or Baker? Gonna be Darnold. It is close, but I just lean towards Sam Darnold. I mean, Sam Darnold is playing on another planet right now, and his offense is on another planet right now. Someone offered to give me over on Twitch. Someone offered to give me someone offered to give my Nico Collins and Vidal for Olave and Gatson. What are your thoughts? Do you need a tight end? Like, what would you be left with at wide receiver and running back? I guess. What does the rest of your roster look like? 'Cause I love Gatson. Like Gatson is a top 5 tight end rest of the season, especially now with Tucker Craft out. Olave, there's a lot of hit or miss there, and a lot of volatility with that. But I still think that with Rashid Shaheed gone, like the target share is only going to continue to go up. And then Nico is obviously volatile, but I think he still definitely has a higher ceiling than Chris Olave does. And then Vidal is on limited time until Amari Hampton is actually back. So what does the rest of your roster look like? Thanks again for the T-Law and McCarthy take. Yeah, no problem. That's what we're here for. Thanks. Yeah, Mooney saw 11 targets 1 week earlier, and then on the practice period. Yeah, like it's been super frustrating. Do we hold Ricky P from Kelsey? Yeah, I think you kind of have to. Like, I can't see myself dropping Ricky Pearsall, but I don't understand why these teams just don't throw these guys on IR. Like, it's super frustrating. Um, with him, because like, what are we like? He's been out for like what 3 or 4 weeks now. But with this injury and like it still there's still no clarity to when he's going to be back. But I think you probably it depends on like how many teams this is is this like a 12 team league? Yeah, I'm holding on to Ricky Pearsall. But if it's like a 10 team league, then maybe I consider dropping him. Who do you like better, Ty Johnson or Ray Davis? We kind of already went over this, but I'll do it again. It's going to be Ray Davis for me. I think Ray Davis is the direct backup to James Cook, where I think Ty Johnson is simply just his role doesn't change, right? I think he continues to be the change of pace, continues to be the third down back, 2 minute back, where Ray Davis is going to handle all the other work and basically play the James Cook role. And so I would rather have Ray Davis. PPR drop Woody Marks, Charbonnet, Tyron Tracy, or Jake Ferguson. If I had to drop somebody, probably I really don't want to drop. I really don't want to drop any of these guys, but I guess if I had to, Charbonnet, I guess. Like, the only reason I say that it was Tyrone Tracy is because, like, I don't know if that was just a 1 week deal with Tyrone Tracy last week where he played less snaps than what he did prior to that. Because the week prior to that, I mean, once Scadaboo went out, he played 60% of the snaps. Then the week after that, he drops down to like 48% of the snaps. So, or 44% of the snaps, excuse me. He still ran 50% of the routes. Like, we've kind of seen this. We've already seen this before. And we saw this last year. So that was Devin Singletary, Tyrone Tracy. But Charbonnet, I mean, I don't know. It's either Charbonnet or Tracy. I think it would be the two. Yeet. May over Knicks this week. So I think the only volatility with Bo Nix, I think Bo Nix is in a phenomenal spot this week. But one, can the Raiders push the Broncos at all? Two, do the Broncos throw the ball that much? Like, do they just pound the rock and just run it down their throat? Um, I still think Bo Nix is a really strong play, but like there's volatility there, a little bit of volatility with it. Like they're 9.5 point favorites, right? And so if they get up to a really quick lead, I mean, Bo Nix may not do as much, but I still think Bo Nix is in a really solid spot. I've kind of talked about Drake May already. Like Drake May could get there with rushing upside because how good he is on the ground. And he has been phenomenal this year, but there's things about this matchup that I don't necessarily love. But the matchup, but it's definitely going to be a much higher scoring game. It's going to be a much closer game with the Patriots and Bucks. And so I still would probably lean Drake May, but if you wanted to go Bo Nix, I wouldn't hate you for it. Like if that's your gut's telling you to do, wouldn't hate it. But I just know Thursdays can get really crazy. And so like it's if I have two close options, I'm probably going to go with the one that's not playing on Thursday. I have ETN Cook. Okay, so you were off of it all in Collins. I think the way you worded it made it sound like maybe you instead of saying my Nico Collins of it all, that's why I saw my. So maybe you meant to say give me Nico Collins. Okay, so that makes a little more sense. I have ETN Cook, Olave, Keenan, Kittle, and Addison. I might need a running back because Cook is hurt, so I was offering for Dahl and Collins for Addison and Gatson. I mean, I think Cook's going to be fine. Um, just Vidal is a very short term ad. I mean, Collins is still an upgrade over Jordan Addison, so I don't mind that. I just hate getting rid of Gatson. Like Gatson to me is like a player you can just plug in and play in your flex every week, unless you're absolutely loaded at running back and like you're not loaded at running back. I mean, James Cook is a really good play, really good, and then ETN is a fine running back too on most weeks. Then there's volatility at wide receiver with Olave, Keenan, but you are getting Nico, so you're getting the upgrade there. Um, man, that's tough. You'd have asked me like 2 weeks ago. I think everyone would have been like, "Oh yeah, for sure for Gatson." But now Gatson's been so good. I probably make the move because you really need help at wide receiver. And then Vidal gives you nice, I think, at least upside for the next 3 or 4 weeks until Omari and Hampton comes back. And Jordan Addison's like a solid, like low end wide receiver too. But I do get nervous with how little they've asked JJ. They're really trying to protect JJ McCarthy. Who's a sleeper, desperate play running back that you would roll the dice on playing? Blake Corum, Terrell Jennings, Ray Davis. I mean, if James Cook were to miss, it's easily Ray Davis. Like we're not even talking about it. Like it's Ray Davis. But if he doesn't play, like is Amari DiMercado sitting out there? I actually think Amari DiMercado is actually a pretty strong play this week. He actually handled 48% of the rush attempts last week. There's also the pass catching back there. But he's not, I guess you go Blake Corum. Oh, you have CD too. Okay, that's some handy information. So you have CD, Olave, Keenan, Addison. So then you would have CD, Nico with James Cook, Vidal. With you having George Kittle, I think I make that move. Yeah, I think I would do it. Well, honestly, I mean, if you're really looking, like, you may try to see if you can get something else for maybe something a little bit, because I mean there is definitely a lot of volatility with Nico Collins and his upside. I mean, for sure. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting greedy, but I guess I probably would make that move when you since you have Kittle. And this one, yeah, I think I'd probably go Blake Corum. Tingley. Hey, assuming this they start, should I flex Rashad or Henderson? I would go Rashad White. Yeah, I mean Rashad White. I mean he did lose some touches to Sean Tucker the week before they went on bye, but he's still involved in the passing game. I would still probably go Rashad White. Should I trade Marvin Harrison for Tyler Warren? If you're desperate for a tight end, um, and you don't need Marvin Harrison, I'm totally cool with that. Any ideas of moves to make in a 10-team PPR, 2 flex? I'm 7-2. Baker, Dart, HN, Kyron, Chase Brown, Dobbins, Henderson, Rashad White, CD, Rice. Hey, did you just come on here to like roster bait in front of us? Because like I don't think there's any moves you need to make here. Like this roster is phenomenal. I mean, maybe an upgrade at RB2, but like because I mean CD Lamb and Rasheed Rice is phenomenal. And you also have Garrett Wilson who's back now. Garrett Wilson, Gatson is a baller. Baker and Dart, awesome combination. So like maybe a running back too that you might be able to pair some of your depth with to try to go get somebody. Maybe like a Bucky Irving, I guess, if you wanted to take a little bit of a gamble, especially since you're 7-2. And you have Rashad White. That'd be about it. But other than that, Chef's kiss on this roster because it's awesome. Dobbs, Trey Tucker, Jennings, or Pierce. This is gonna be Juwan Jennings. Really like Juwan. Excuse me, Juwan Jennings this week. And you can watch my video that comes out tomorrow to find out why. Hey guys, sorry I forgot to tell you the running backs I had. First off, 5-4 running backs are Ashton Jeanty, Chase Brown, Kyle Monangai, Isaiah Davis, Jordan Mason, and Trey Benson on IR. Let's fly up to the top. Wherever you asked your question before. There we go. What's going on? I need to trade advice. Should I trade Nico and Laporta for Bucky and DK? I still have a Mecca, Rome, Tet, Gatson. Does Bucky worry? So you have Jinty, Chase Brown, Monangai, Isaiah Davis, Jordan Mason, Trey Benson. You trade Nico and Laporta for Bucky and DK. I still don't want DK. Can we put somebody else in there besides DK Metcalf? But I don't think it's really changed anything. Like you definitely need like another running back for sure. I mean, I think Jinty's been actually really good on a per touch base this year. It's just their team is so bad. But like I don't mind it. Like if you want to take the swing out, kind of like I said, I have no problem doing it. You definitely need another running back. I think that elite level running back. I think you have a lot of depth, but not a lot of like consistent upside every single week. So if you can make a move for Bucky, It is tough though. You're 5-4. Like you're not giving up any other running back. So I mean, you're still just throwing them on the. And you're still going to have for this week Emeka, Rome, Tet as well, and Gatson. You don't need Laporta. Yeah, I make that trade. I make that trade. You're still fine without him. And all he's going to do is help you when he comes back. Let's see, where are we at? Oh, right here. What do I do with Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones? I have them both, but I don't see how I start them unless one of them gets injured. Are they droppable? I think I mean Aaron Jones, I think, is actually in a really good spot. Um, I think he looked really good whenever he came back. I mean, that was at 98 total yards, 11 touches, 43% of the snaps. Like, he's definitely the better of the two between him and Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's very capped. I guess I would also ask you, like, how many people are in your league? Like, is this a 10-team league? It's a 12-team league? If it's like a 10-team league, I think I would just drop Jordan Mason. Like, I don't think Jordan Mason's ever going to, like, kill you. Jordan Mason's very much touchdown dependent. He's never going to be involved in the passing game. So, like, if I had to drop somebody, it would be Jordan Mason. But if it's a 12-team league, I probably don't want to trade either one of them. I'd rather just make a trade. So, like, what is this, a 10-team or 12-team league? How close between Knicks and Darnold? Got Knicks in right now, but I don't know. I mean, it's really close. I have it at 9 and 10, so it's really close for me between the two of them. And I could go either way. Knicks has the better matchup. I mean, he does. I mean, against the Raiders. But same time, do they get pushed to a point where like you really have to throw the ball a ton? Now we have seen Sean Payton at times too do some damn Dan Campbell stuff where he just pours it on. And so that's possible too. But I still would probably slightly Knicks. Full PPR, Loveland or Fannin. Man, it's hard to sit Loveland after the breakout game. That don't sit him. Play Colson Loveland against the Giants. Yeah, I have no problem with playing Colson Loveland, especially with Cole Kmet going to be out. I got quarterback Darts, wide receiver Wilson, Ekbuka, Rice Lamb, running back Bucky, White, Juckins, Harvey, Henderson, Bride, Aubrey. Do I stink this year because I'm a Jets fan? 2-7. Your roster doesn't feel that bad. It definitely doesn't look that bad. But you suffer. Oh, but I mean, I see why. I mean, Rice was out for the first 6 weeks. We just got Rice back. Lamb missed all that time with the injury. Dart obviously didn't become, I don't know who your quarterback was prior to Jackson Dart. Garrett Wilson's also missed multiple weeks, so that's hurt. And then running backs, I mean, Bucky has missed all this time. Juckins didn't become active until, 3 or 4 weeks into the season. Harvey has not hit, which I'm sure at the time you probably spent like a top 5-6 pick on him. Henderson, probably the same thing. McBride has been like your saving grace. Have just been, and thank God Jacoby Brissett is the starting quarterback for this team now, and so I am so happy for that because I think it's great for Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison. It just opens everything up, and Aubrey's been great, but I also get why that this team is what it is. This team should be like I'm looking at this team. This team should be at the very least like 5-4. I think 6-3. But with once you factor everything in, I see why they are. What um what my question for you, Jake, is I'm assuming like how far away are you from the playoffs? Like how far away are you from a playoff spot? Do you have a shot at the playoffs? Like is it possible if you went out, can you still make the playoffs? It's like this roster is not bad. Like, and it wouldn't shock me if you just start ripping off some wins. Obviously, it doesn't help that you have Rice and CeeDee Lamb on bye this week and Bucky are still out. That doesn't help. But getting Garrett Wilson back is huge. Um, that's huge. I'm third in points, but I think I'm kind of screwed. See, this is why leagues need to go to, like if you're a 12 team league, like the sixth team that gets in is the team it's the remaining teams, whoever has the highest amount of points. Because I'm assuming then at that point you probably would make the playoffs. Like that's the way to me because I feel like so much fantasy football is luck in terms of like what your schedule is because like you can't control that. And obviously I know in real football, you can't control your schedule either. You can like play who you have in front of you. But still, like there's just such bad luck and being the team that has scored the third most points, but just getting that unluckiness of playing the teams every single week that seems to be going off. And you would beat almost everybody else. And so like, I feel like that's something that should be added to all these, or the median scoring should be added too. I think that's a very good one. Where at the end of every week, the median score for the league that week, if you score above it, then you get a win. I think that's also something that more leagues should do. But yeah, 3 games out. I mean, you have a shot with what 4 or 5 weeks left. So I wouldn't give up. But yeah, this team should have been better than what it was. I'll say that. Half point PPR, start Marv, Brees, or ETN. Give me Marvin Harrison. I don't want to play ETN against the Texas defense. I really don't want to play any running back against that defense. And I don't want to play Brees really against the Cowboys. I mean the Browns. The only way I think he gets there is if he gets there through the air. Or there's always this possibility that he rips off like an 80-yard touchdown because those things happen. But just looking at it, I'd rather play them. I got a tough scenario in fantasy and I need help. Let's hear it, Sean. Thank God for Kyler's done. Yes, me too. And it's just, I don't want to say it's laughable, but like it's crazy that like literally that dude gets benched and their offense just takes off and everybody else starts playing well. The offense takes off. So, no roster betting. The names are pretty and all that. Next thing you know, they drop a goose egg for you dudes. They just wanted some insight and upgrade for good playoffs. Yeah, I don't think you need to do a whole lot though. I mean, I think that team is phenomenal. And yeah, Odunze dropping a 0, which is crazy when the Bears scored 47 points. And Odunze was out here doing nothing. But a lot of that's because of what they did on the ground too. I mean, Monangai was phenomenal, almost 200 yards, from 200 yards last week. So, I mean, he had a lot to do with it. I like my chance. Yeah, I like your chances too if you get in. Like, you're one of those teams that like people don't want in the playoffs because of that, because of like what because of what your team would do. Like that is a really good team if you could find a way just to squeak into the playoffs. But I've seen it before. Like I've seen teams that go like 5-7 or whatever, and 5-8, and have made and won the championship before. It's wild, but if that's all you gotta do. You got to win out though. Like obviously you can't drop a game the rest of the way, and hope for some good luck to happen. And maybe you play some of the teams that are ahead of you to help yourself. Olave, Trey Tucker, Jennings, non PPR. Give me Juwan Jennings. I have Juwan Jennings at top 24 wide receiver this week, but as a non PPR looking for touchdowns, I think Jennings makes the most sense there. So that being said, I think that's the last question. I think what I'm going to do, because I said I was going to try to get out of here early tonight and not be on as late as I normally do. I think what I'm going to go ahead and jump off here because I have a video to record. If you haven't, hit the like, subscribe button. But also, if you do have the video for our top plays of the week at every position, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end will be coming out tomorrow morning. That's what I'm going to jump off here and record and edit and get out for tomorrow morning. But then I'm going to go live again on Friday night. There's a lot of news this week that we need to get to, that we need to figure out. be able to really make a good educated decision on who we're going to play this week. Thursday, I mean, you start your Broncos. I think for the most part, there's not a lot of decision making that goes there. The Raiders, it's really basically Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty, the only two that you need to consider. But other than that, like there's a lot of decisions we need to make this week, and so I will be back again Friday night to we'll go live and we'll do our normal. We'll go live until 2 or 3 hours like we always do. But I wanted to try to get on here. I didn't want to. I was going to skip, but I decided not to. And tonight, but because I wanted to help everybody out. I know a lot of people come here Wednesday nights. I didn't want to just skip it without anybody knowing what's going on. So, Sean, super chat, appreciate that. 12 team, PPR 2-7. I have Lamar, Saquon, Chase Brown, Rice, DK, Wandell, Fannin, Christian Watson, Kyle Mononga, potential flex, 42% chance to win. So, would I send my opponent Chase Brown or she for Puka? You'd still have Saquon. Who would you have left at running back, Sean? So obviously you'd be able to play Lamar this week, Saquon this week. Obviously you can't play Chase Brown. Rice is out. You obviously need a win. Yeah, you definitely have to win out. But who else do you have besides Kyle Mononga and Saquon at running back? So like who are you playing this week? Aaron Jones, who may not play. Let's see. And there's a lot of volatility there, but I think you kind of have to, right? Like I think you have to take a swing. I mean, you're 2-7. I mean, you can't just keep waiting for next week. And so, like, I mean, Puka when healthy is phenomenal. Puka when healthy is a top 2 wide receiver right now, but Rashee Rice is top 5. But Chase Brown is a solid RB2 for the most part. I think rest of the season with Joe Flacco there, but like you need wins. Like you can't wait for next week to come. And so like yeah, I mean if you can make it happen, you can trade Chase Brown for Puka. Like maybe you try to get like a low end piece throw in like a bench stash running back or something. But like maybe we're getting greedy. I don't know. But but yeah, I mean I think you make the move. I mean you kind of have to be at this point. You have to be desperate because, like you said, you're 2-7. You have to win out, and so you can't wait for next week for those guys to come back. And so I think I think you do it. I think sometimes you got to, sometimes you just got to, as they say, drop your nuts on the table and just go all in. I mean, so this feels like one of those moves that I think you just kind of have to do it because you need to win. Puka obviously is top 2 or 3 wide receiver. He's my wide receiver 2 this week. As 30-point upside, can win you a week, and that's what you need. So, and even moving forward for the Rams, like he's still going to be that. Now you worry about the injury stuff with him, but overall, I think you have to make the move. You would want Rice and Brown. Yeah, I'm totally fine with you giving him Rice and Brown. It's just trying to see if you can get like a throw in piece on it. But also, again, you don't want to get too greedy and try to, ask for too much. But DeMarcado may not be a bad option for you either in terms of what else you have because, I mean, it's DeMarcado, I guess, if you're going to have to start, or Kyle Monangai. Because with DeAndre Swift back, like maybe you consider if you don't have anybody else. But like I don't think it's tough because like again, like if you lose this week and you go 2-8, it's pretty much lights out at that point. Like, and it's still like 2-7 is still really hard to come back from, but this at least gives you a shot at it. Where it's not going to matter if you have Chase Brown and Rashee Rice next week and you win out, but you miss the playoffs because of it. So I think you do it. Like I think I'd make the move. I guess you could consider a little bit of an overpay just because how good Rashee Rice has been. But again, we're trying to buy wins now. So I think I would do it. I think I would do it. I would just, even if he wouldn't offer something else, if you could get like a DeMarcado, because I think he would be like a I think he's a smart, like he could be a good flex play this week, especially if you're shipping out Chase Brown. And I'm assuming you're playing Kyle Monangai. Then I think you can make the trade. I think what Puka upgrade is worth. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it is. I mean, he's obviously an upgrade over Rashee Rice, but once you factor in Chase Brown, you are overpaying. But again, we don't have the choice to wait around. So I appreciate the super chat, Sean. You have any other thing? Always here to help. Jake, you think Meredith drop before you go? I think, I think you can. I mean, at this point, I mean, people keep hoping and praying that, and I hear like other people on Twitter or content creators talk about him, and it's like people are just wish casting for their preseason takes that he's going to turn into something, but I mean, he really hasn't. He has the one game where he scored that 27-point performance rate, 152 touchdowns. But like he is just like boom or bust. Like he's either going to rip off a big play or he's nothing. And now without Jaden Daniels, this team is getting more and more banged up. Like Marcus Mariota is not a bad play, don't get me wrong, or not a bad backup quarterback. But like for a player that's 5.8, 4.2, 2.5, 5.1, he's not involved at all in the passing game. They're going to be behind way more than they're ahead in most games. Like I think you can drop him. Like I don't think he's somebody you have to hold. So that's kind of the way I would look at it. I love Rice, but he's borderline top 10. I mean, I think he's top. He's definitely top 5. He's just, I mean, he gets peppered with targets, and the Chiefs' schedule does open up. They do have 2 matchup against the Broncos, but I mean, Rashee Rice has scored 23.2, 25.5, and 18.6 since coming back. That's not as good as Puka. Like he's definitely not ahead of Puka Nacua, but for the most part, I mean, he's been about as good as you could ask for since he's come back. He's averaging 22.4 PPR points per game, and he's hits the mark everywhere else, like efficiency wise, 4th in yards per hour run, 16th in yards per pass. Like there's a lot to like for Rashee Rice, but I agree with you. I mean, Puka's not just top 3; he's top 2. I think it's him and JSN. For most of the year, it was Puka for me as number 1, and I've recently just kind of I feel like rest of season I would put JSN ahead of him, but then Puka would be right there at number 2. It's just you're just worried about the injury, but again, kind of talked about it. He's 2-7. You have to get wins, and so yeah, for sure. So that being said, I am going to go ahead and jump out of here. I will be back again Friday night, though. I'll be back again Friday night. I'm going to try to go live around 9 o'clock, 9:30 at the latest on Friday. We'll have all the information about injuries for the most part. We're going to know everything to do. So if you haven't already, hit the like, subscribe button. We'll have a video coming out tomorrow. Keep trying to get, but I just can't. Trade Achane and Tet for Henry, Warren, and Sutton. RB2, Tracy Walker. Should I just write it out? 1 top tier running back, wide receiver, CD, Igboka, Tet. Trade Achane plus Tet for Henry, Warren. Is that Jalen Warren or is that Tyler Warren and Sutton? But I would. Jalen Warren. Okay. So you get Henry, Jalen Warren, and Sutton for Achane and Tet. I think I actually probably do that. Man, the upside though for Jalen for Devon Achane on a weekly basis. I just don't want Sutton. I'm just not a fan of Courtland Sutton. And Jalen Warren, I mean, he's an RB2 for sure. But Derrick Henry could go nuclear over the second half of the year. Tet is whatever. Tet's like a wide receiver 3. I mean, I would still take Courtland Sutton over Tet, though. The Panthers aren't going to throw the ball. They don't want to throw the ball at all. Man. So you have Tracy and Walker as running back. I might take the Henry side with the Lamar back. Yeah, Jake. Because I mean, if you look at, I mean, I've kind of said this, but like I haven't really went through it. But the Ravens' schedule the rest of the way. So they get the Browns, which for a running back's not great. That one's not good. We don't love that. Well, the Vikings this week, then the Browns, but then they get the Jets, which is phenomenal. The Bengals, phenomenal matchup. Derrick Henry could go absolutely nuclear there. Steelers you can run against. Steelers aren't that great against the run this year. The Bengals again, the Patriots, and then the Packers to close out the fantasy season. So in Lambeau, which feels like just an ultimate Derrick Henry game in Lambeau. It's gonna be -10, but Derrick Henry's out there just running through motherfuckers' faces. I think I do it. Just with Henry's rest of season schedule, it's so good. Um, I guess I have Rashad White till Bucky comes back. If Bucky comes back, do you have Bucky Irving too? Because if you have Bucky too. Oh, not in this league. No. Okay. 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 I think I take it. The more I think about it, I mean, it's hard giving up Devon Achan, but you're also getting a pretty nice haul. I mean, you're getting and Jalen Warren is still a pretty solid like RB2. Like he's been pretty solid this year. Um, I mean, Devon Achan is averaging 19.2 fantasy points per game, but it's been more like consistency than it has been like true upside. Like he has the one game against the Chargers where he scored 31. And then back in week 2 against the Patriots, he had 26. Yeah, I think I do it. I think I'm doing it. Miami's kind of imploding, whereas Baltimore with Lamar back's on up. Yeah, like I said, there's a reason the Ravens are still favored to win the division, even though they're like 2-3 games behind the Steelers, 2 games behind the Steelers, I think. So, but this schedule just sets up really, really well. But yeah, I would take it there. So, all right, for the third time, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. If you haven't already, hit the like, subscribe button. Like I said, we will be back again Friday night to answer all of your questions. Again, we'll have a lot more information. Oh every time. Down bad running back this week. Pick one out of Corum, DeMarcado, Jennings, or Ray Davis. If James Cook is out, we're going Ray Davis. If not, go Amari DeMarcado. And if you want to know why about Amari DeMarcado, check out the video that we'll be dropping tomorrow morning, which is our top plays at running back, our quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. We go through all the matchups, all the rankings. I actually am going to talk about Amari DeMarcado tomorrow, so check it out. Again, like, subscribe. We'll see you on Friday night. And to answer all your questions, I have all the information. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.